The Atlantic Ocean, a vast, watery desert where human lives are completely at the mercy of the elements. For millennia, it has swallowed empires, hidden treasures, and guarded dark secrets that modern science still struggles to comprehend. But among all the dark tales of the high seas, one event stands alone as the ultimate maritime enigma, a riddle that defies human logic, challenges psychological behavior, and mocks the laws of conventional forensics. This is the story of a cold December afternoon in 1872, when a floating sanctuary became an eternal tomb, and a crew of 10 human souls vanished into thin air without leaving a single drop of blood behind. December 5th, 1872. Deep in the desolate waters between the Azores Islands and the coast of Portugal, Captain David Morehouse, commander of the British merchant ship Dei Gratia, stood on the deck scanning the horizon through his brass telescope. Through the heavy sea mist, he spotted a shape drifting erratically. It was a twin-masted brigantine sailing ship, moving with a strange, unnatural lurch. The sails were slightly torn, flapping like broken wings in the cold Atlantic wind. As the Dei Gratia drew closer, Captain Morehouse recognized the vessel's elegant lines. Painted across the weathered wooden hull was the name that would soon echo through history: the Mary Celeste. Morehouse knew the commander of this ship well, Captain Benjamin Briggs, a highly respected, deeply religious, and meticulously experienced sea captain. Briggs was a man who loved his ship and would never allow it to drift in such a careless manner. For over 2 hours, Morehouse watched the Mary Celeste, but no one appeared at the helm. No flags were raised, no distress signals were fired. There was only a heavy, suffocating silence hanging over the vessel. Sensing a catastrophic emergency, Morehouse ordered his first mate, Oliver DeVoe, and a small crew to row a lifeboat over and board the drifting vessel. As their boots struck the wooden deck of the Mary Celeste, they stepped into a living nightmare. The deck was completely deserted. The wind howled through the rigging, but there was no sound of human life. DeVoe drew his knife, expecting to find a scene of slaughter, pirate violence, or a sudden deadly plague. Instead, what he found was far more terrifying: absolute, perfect order. In the captain's quarters, the bed was neatly made. An elegant cast-iron sewing machine sat on a table next to a half-finished dress. In the corner sat a small wooden cradle, the blankets still warm with the memory of a sleeping child. It belonged to Sophia Briggs, the captain's 2-year-old daughter who had accompanied her parents on this fateful voyage. On the galley table, breakfast was laid out: bowls of cold porridge, plates of bread, and half-filled cups of tea sat untouched. It looked as if the passengers had suddenly dissolved into thin air right in the middle of a peaceful meal. DeVoe rushed to the captain's desk and found the ship's official logbook. The final entry was dated November 25th, exactly 10 days prior to their discovery. The log recorded their position near Santa Maria Island, hundreds of miles away. The final words written by Captain Briggs were completely mundane, noting standard weather conditions and routine navigation data. There was absolutely no mention of a storm, a crew rebellion, mechanical failure, or impending danger. The inspectors descended into the dark cargo hold. If the ship had struck a reef or taken on water, the cargo would be ruined, but the hull was bone dry. The cargo, 1,700 barrels of highly valuable industrial alcohol, was fully secure. They checked the ship's safe. Captain Briggs was carrying a substantial amount of cash, and the crew had personal valuables, gold watches, and wedding rings packed in their trunks. Not a single coin had been stolen. The ship was entirely seaworthy, with plenty of food and fresh water meant to last for 6 months. The only thing missing from the entire vessel was the small lifeboat and the captain's personal navigation instruments. 10 human beings, Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their little girl Sophia, and 7 highly experienced hand-picked crew members, had abandoned a fortress of dry wood and abundant food. They had chosen to throw themselves into a tiny, fragile wooden lifeboat, launching into the cold, unpredictable, and deadly open waters of the Atlantic Ocean. To any seasoned sailor, this decision was not just irrational, it was an act of suicide. Realizing the immense value of the abandoned ship, Captain Morehouse split his crew. They sailed both the Dei Gratia and the Mary Celeste into the British port of Gibraltar, expecting a massive financial reward for salvaging the ghost ship. Instead of a celebration, they walked into a wall of suspicion. The British Maritime Attorney General, Frederick Sally Flood, looked at the pristine condition of the Mary Celeste and smelled a conspiracy. He suspected foul play. Flood launched an aggressive investigation. His team discovered a rusty sword hidden under the captain's bed and small dark stains on the wooden deck. He immediately concluded that the crew of the Dei Gratia murdered Briggs and his family for the salvage money. The trial dragged on for months, capturing the attention of the entire world. However, early forensic tests shattered the lawyer's theory. The stains on the deck were not blood. They were old rust and spilled structural glue. The sword had never been used in violence. The court was forced to release the salvage money, but the damage was done. The Mary Celeste was officially branded a cursed ship. But if it wasn't a clever murder plot, what truly happened during those 10 silent days in the Atlantic? For over a century, investigators, historians, and novelists put forward a massive array of wild theories. The first and most obvious was a brutal pirate raid. The 1870s still saw rogue raiders operating near North Africa. But the pirate theory collapses under the weight of basic human greed. Pirates do not leave behind 1,700 barrels of commercial alcohol, cash boxes full of gold, and expensive personal jewelry. Pirates do not leave a ship perfectly intact. What about a bloody mutiny? Did the crew turn into monsters, murder the Briggs family, and flee? This was a popular theory in Victorian newspapers, but it completely ignores the psychological profile of the men on board. Captain Benjamin Briggs was a deeply devout Christian who did not tolerate violence, alcohol, or profanity on his vessel. He chose his crew members personally. They were elite, peaceful German sailors with flawless records of loyalty and discipline. As human explanations failed, the public imagination turned to the supernatural. Rumors spread that the Mary Celeste had crossed paths with a legendary monster of the deep, the Kraken, or a colossal giant squid. According to folklore, the beast plucked the passengers from the deck one by one. But a sea monster attack would have left massive physical trauma on the ship, shattered wood, broken masts, and torn ropes, yet the Mary Celeste was completely undamaged. Other theorists proposed a sudden, violent underwater earthquake, a seaquake, which was common near the Azores. They argued that a massive tremor from the ocean floor could have terrified the crew, making them believe the ship was sinking. But an experienced captain like Briggs would know that a ship in deep water is almost completely safe from the shockwaves of a seaquake. He would have checked the pumps, seen that the hull was dry, and remained safely on board. Then came the theory of a localized waterspout, a massive tornado of water sweeping across the sea. A waterspout could strike without warning, creating a drop in atmospheric pressure and flooding the upper deck with blinding spray. This could explain why some water was found sloshing between the decks of the Mary Celeste. If a waterspout hit, the crew might have panicked, thinking the ship was about to be torn apart, and jumped into the lifeboat to escape the vortex. However, meteorologists tracking historical weather data from November 1872 proved that the sea around the Azores was relatively calm, with no reports of major waterspouts or tornadic activity during the time of the disappearance. The mystery seemed unsolvable, a perfect historical dead end. That is, until modern investigators decided to look past the supernatural and analyze the physical reality of the ship's unique cargo. In the early 2000s, a team of chemical engineers and maritime historians at Oxford University re-examined the ship's cargo manifest with advanced modern technology, looking for a hidden flaw that 19th century courts missed. They discovered a critical detail. Out of 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, 9 of them were constructed from red oak wood, while the rest were made of dense white oak. Red oak is far more porous and prone to leaking. During the journey from New York, the ship had transitioned from cold winter air to a much warmer climate. Under the intense heat of the sun, the leaked industrial alcohol inside those 9 porous barrels began to rapidly evaporate. Because the cargo hold was completely airtight to prevent moisture damage, the lower decks of the Mary Celeste had slowly transformed into a massive, invisible chemical bomb. A single minor spark, caused by the friction of 2 metal rings on the barrels or a sailor's boot nail, could have triggered a sudden, violent chemical phenomenon known as a flash flare explosion. A flash flare explosion is a terrifying event. It generates a massive wave of high-pressure heat and a bright blue flame that lasts for just a fraction of a second. It creates a deafening, roaring sound like a volcanic blast. Crucially, a flash flare burns so quickly that it leaves absolutely no scorch marks, no charred wood, and no black smoke behind. To Captain Briggs, sitting in his cabin, it would have sounded like the ultimate disaster. The massive blast would have blown the heavy wooden cargo hatches completely off their hinges, releasing a choking, toxic cloud of alcohol vapor across the deck, smelling of chemical poison and imminent death. Imagine the raw, unadulterated panic. Captain Briggs looks out and sees the main cargo hatch blown open. He smells the toxic fumes. He looks at his beautiful wife, Sarah, and hears his innocent baby girl, Sophia, screaming in terror. Briggs was fully aware that he was commanding a ship loaded with 1,700 barrels of highly explosive material. He believed that the flash flare was just the first warning sign, and that the entire ship was about to detonate. He had to make a split-second decision: stay on board and risk watching his family be incinerated in a massive firestorm, or abandon the ship immediately. He chose survival, but he didn't intend to desert his beloved Mary Celeste forever. Briggs ordered everyone into the small lifeboat, but before lowering it into the Atlantic, he took a long, thick, heavy navigation rope, a tow line, and secured one end tightly to the main ship's heavy iron mooring cleat. He intended to trail behind the Mary Celeste at a safe distance of several hundred feet, waiting in the lifeboat until the dangerous chemical vapors cleared from the hold. It was a logical, calculated plan, but the Atlantic Ocean has no mercy. For the first few hours, the plan likely worked. The 10 passengers sat in the cramped lifeboat, watching the silent Mary Celeste drift gracefully ahead of them, connected by the single umbilical cord of the heavy tow line. But without warning, the shifting weather of the mid-Atlantic struck. A sudden, violent ocean gale, a squall, slammed into the area. The wind caught the Mary Celeste's massive, fully set sails with immense, brutal force. The giant 280-ton merchant ship surged forward like a startled stallion. The sudden, violent jerk put millions of pounds of tension on the single tow line connecting them to the lifeboat. Under the immense strain, the thick rope frayed, snapped, and severed. In a fraction of a second, the tie was broken. The crew in the lifeboat could only watch in absolute, paralyzing horror as their giant, warm fortress of dry wood and food sailed away automatically, driven by the fierce wind. They rowed with all their strength, their hands bleeding against the wooden oars, screaming into the roaring wind. But a small lifeboat stands no chance against a fully rigged ship catching a gale. The Mary Celeste faded into the thick gray mist, disappearing from their sight forever. The nightmare had begun. 10 human beings were trapped in a tiny wooden box floating in the absolute middle of the infinite Atlantic Ocean. They had no navigation instruments, no compass, no fresh water, and no food supplies. The cold December nights rolled in, bringing freezing temperatures and merciless salt spray. Sarah Briggs held her shivering 2-year-old daughter Sophia close to her chest, trying to protect her from the biting wind as the open sea slowly broke their sanity. One by one, dehydration, exposure to the freezing elements, and pure exhaustion claimed their lives. The Atlantic Ocean swallowed their bodies, leaving no skeletal remains, no floating clothing, and no physical memory of their agony. The supreme irony of the Mary Celeste is a tragedy of epic proportions. The ship that they fled in absolute terror, believing it to be a deadly ticking bomb, never exploded. It remained perfectly dry, stable, and safe for days, waiting for a crew that would never return. This scientific explanation, developed by modern forensic engineers, is now accepted as the most likely truth behind the Mary Celeste. It is a solution that relies not on ghosts or alien intervention, but on the flawed chemistry of 9 red oak barrels. But the story of the Mary Celeste is more than just a historical cold case solved by science. It is a profound, sobering psychological lesson about the nature of human behavior under extreme crisis. It is a study of how fear operates. When confronted with the illusion of imminent death, our primal survival instincts take over, overriding logic, experience, and wisdom. Captain Briggs was an elite navigator, yet a single panic-driven decision condemned his family to a watery grave. The aftermath of the Mary Celeste was equally dark. The ship was sold to various owners who believed it was cursed. Every captain who took the helm suffered misfortune, financial ruin, or mysterious illness until it was finally crashed intentionally on a reef near Haiti in 1885. We live in the 21st century. We cross the Atlantic in massive steel cruise ships equipped with satellite GPS, automated lifeboats, and instant radar communications. We believe that modern technology has completely tamed the oceans. But the ghost of the Mary Celeste remains a humbling reminder that our modern progress is just a thin veneer. Even in today's high-tech yachts, commercial cargo vessels, and military aircraft still vanish into the global oceans without broadcasting a single distress signal. The ocean is a realm that operates completely outside of human laws, our government's control, and our science. It is an ancient entity that doesn't care about our families, our ambitions, or our advanced technology. The 10 souls of the Mary Celeste never grew old. They never reached their destination in Europe. In some quiet, frozen corridor of time, inside that cold Atlantic mist, they are still waiting in that lifeboat, watching their sanctuary sail away. Many modern sailors who navigate the shipping lanes near the Azores report seeing a strange phenomenon late at night, a faint, silent silhouette of a twin-masted brigantine ship moving against the wind, with no lights and no crew on deck. Is the Mary Celeste a warning from history, a mirror showing us just how fragile our reality truly is? A single moment of blind panic can erase an entire life, an entire family, and an entire memory in a heartbeat. So the next time you board a ship or look out a plane window at the deep blue abyss below you, watch the horizon closely. If the water suddenly changes color, or if you feel a sudden, unexplainable chill in the air, do not panic. Maintain your logic. Trust your fortress. Because once you step off into the dark, unknown abyss, the universe doesn't offer a second chance. The ocean doesn't share its secrets, and it never gives them back. Some doors in history are meant to remain closed. Some mysteries are not meant to be fully rationalized. They are meant to be feared. They are meant to keep humanity humble in the face of nature's terrifying power. The water is deep, the horizon is endless, and the phantom of the Mary Celeste is out there right now, drifting through the fog of time, watching and waiting for the next soul to lose their mind to fear. What do you think really happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Did they fall victim to the invisible flash flare explosion of the chemical cargo? Or is there a darker conspiracy that history tried to bury? Write your theories in the comments below. Let us discuss the truth together. Subscribe to mystery videos to keep searching for the hidden historical truths of our world before our own signal goes dark forever. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and good night from the heart of the great unknown.